Australia's world first social media ban for under 16. That kicks in less than a month. But it's not clear around the ID that we will need to access social media platforms. So from December 10, the government will be forcing social media companies to block under 16s from plenty of social media platforms, including Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. And the government insists that platforms will not be allowed to require government IDs to verify age and must instead use reasonable alternatives. But the public still has very little clarity on the issue of IDs and personal data storage around how this is going to work. I mean, do you have concerns about this social media ban and the IDs that we're going to need to use and that they'll be able to have to force us to hand over?
Well, I think we all respect the initiative behind the idea behind the ban. You know, we want to protect the kids, obviously, and social media is a dangerous place. But implementation is just as important as the actual idea of the ban itself. And if you really want to be world leading and world first, you need to make sure these things are ironed out and you come with a clear plan. You don't want to say, look, we're going to get things wrong, but, you know, it's going to eventually work itself out. These are the lives of a lot of people that you're going to be affecting, not just the children, but everyone who has to verify their age online. And there have been reports that have come out where some of these other mechanisms that are not digital ID mechanisms are just not that accurate. They've used like 2D face masks and put them in front of their faces, and they've verified them as older than a certain age. They've used a bunch of different techniques. So the question is, do you use a less secure technique that will have some flaw to it, or do you use digital ID, in which case you're exposing a lot of Australians to privacy concerns and security breaches that they don't want to be a part of.
No, absolutely
A lot of people
not.
support the ban, but most Australians are really worried about how their data will be secure, as anyone reasonably would be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very concerning thing when you start talking about digital IDs. But I want to talk to you about America. New York City's around Mamdani has had his historic election win, and it sparked a lot of conversation around you know, I suppose where the Democrats are heading, where Gen Z voters are heading, and there are suggestions that this could be a turning point for voters and Gen Z voters. What do you make of the results?
I think it's one that the Democrats needed, quite frankly, because if you've looked at them in the last 6 months, they've really been languishing. And Donald Trump has not really had much competition from the Democrats.
Yeah.
And so this is probably the biggest win for the progressive movement in America in quite a long time, along the lines of it not just being a win for New York, but you've got someone who, if you put aside the policies, is a fairly objectively charismatic, good on social media, able to say what he thinks, and is able to say a lot of things that other politicians would lose votes over, but say it with almost that Trump effect. And then be able to overcome that sort of expectation of what you should and should not do. And so that's why I'm not surprised that the Mamdani effect, or I guess you should call it the Trump effect if he was the first one to do it, is going to sweep across a lot of these seats. You'll have younger challengers coming in across the nation, I think, you know, across both Republican and Democrat sides. And you have to ask, is that necessarily a bad thing? Probably not. And I would extend that to say in Australia, would that be a bad thing? I mean, you look at the state of some of the leaders that we've got. I would argue a reset and a new wave of people coming in with new ideas, and also an ability to communicate those ideas effectively is exactly what the Western world in every nation, including America and Australia, definitely needs. So it's going to be interesting to see whether this Mamdani effect works, not just for the Democrats, but for the Republicans and for every other party there is. Yeah.
It's interesting because Donald Trump, when he won the election last year, had a huge amount of support from Gen Z voters.
Yeah.
Now, new polling suggests that Trump's support among Gen Z voters has actually slipped in recent months. A new YouGov Economist poll found that 25% of Gen Z respondents approve of Trump's performance, which is a decline from September. Well, what do you make of those results?
Well, I'll speak as a member of this community, I suppose, in saying that I think that Gen Z people love the talk. They love the movement. They love the belief in something bigger than themselves. And they love the hope that someone can do what they say. And politics, unfortunately, is an over-talk and under-deliver in reality. So you have, for example, President Trump, who went out and has done executive orders galore, has actually delivered on a lot of the things that he did promise.
Extraordinary.
And he's delivered on a lot for his voters and for what the voters wanted. But he hasn't delivered on some of the things that, that simply can't be. I mean, you can't reduce prices, really. And a lot of younger people don't sort of understand the difficulty in the economy. I mean, you want to try and make sure the inflation slows down, but you can't reduce prices. You can't turn back the clock on previous policies, and you can't, on day one, turn an entire economy around. Younger people love the idea of instantly having a leader who can turn an entire country around. It's not a reality. It takes time. And that's why every time a new leader is elected, you have this slump from Gen Z because they think, where's everything that was promised now, right here? And it's probably because of social media. And it's to round it up. It's probably because of the short attention spans that they all and we all have. They want to be a part of a movement. They want to be a part of something that will fix their issues now. It's not a reality, and that's why you see that slump off every single time someone's elected off the back of a Gen Z vote.
Dr. Rian Al, Director at Matt Ventures, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Gabby.